From Interior Alaska's most trusted news source, this is the Fbx Evening News.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. I'm Daryl Clark. Stephanie Woodard has the evening off. Our top story: President Barack Obama today opened a historic trip to Alaska that will make him the first sitting president to visit the Alaska Arctic. Now, the president arrived this afternoon at Joint Base Elmendorf-Richardson, just outside of Anchorage. He'll spend 3 days in the state in an aggressive effort to build support for fighting climate change. On the president's agenda was a listening session with Alaska natives, giving a speech on climate change and the Arctic at a State Department-sponsored conference involving Arctic and non-Arctic leaders. Now, while in Alaska, Obama will meet with fishermen, hike a melting glacier, and tour a national park by boat. He'll close this trip Wednesday with a visit to the tiny town of Kotzebue, north of the Arctic Circle. The President and Secretary of State John Kerry addressed the subject at the conference in Anchorage today.
The bottom line is that climate change is not a distant threat for our children and their children to worry about. It is now. It is happening now.
Thawing permafrost destabilizes the earth on which 100,000 Alaskans live, threatening homes, damaging transportation and energy infrastructure, which could cost billions of dollars to fix. Warmer, more acidic oceans and rivers and the migration of entire species threatens the livelihoods of indigenous peoples and local economies dependent on fishing and tourism.
On Sunday, Interior Secretary Sally Jewell issued an order to officially change the name of the tallest mountain in North America from Mount McKinley to Denali. The declaration was backed by President Obama prior to his historic visit to Alaska. The 20,237-foot mountain was named after former Republican President William McKinley of Ohio. Speaking at the Glacier Summit at Anchorage today, Alaska Lieutenant Governor Byron Mallott commended Secretary Jewell for returning the traditional Alaska Native name of Denali, an Athabascan word meaning the high one.
As validated by the President of the United States, to rename, to bring back the ancient Denali name, Athabascan name, Denali, to the mountain that was for too long, with due deference to President McKinley and the people of Ohio, was too long named Mount McKinley. And we thank you so much for that.
Last November, voters legalized the retail sale and recreational use of marijuana here in the state of Alaska. The staff at Fairbanks Memorial Hospital is preparing for potential medical issues associated with the new industry. Dr. George Sam Wang, a pediatric emergency room physician at Children's Hospital Colorado, made ground rounds at FMH today. Dr. Wang presented to FMH staff some ways marijuana legislation in Colorado has affected the pediatric population in terms of unintentional exposures, adolescent marijuana use, and effects of marijuana use during breastfeeding. Dr. Wang conducted a retrospective study on the frequency of emergency room visits for accidental pediatric exposures to marijuana. The study found that between 2009 and 2013, there were no ER visits to the Children's Hospital for unintended exposures, but 13 in the first 7 months of 2014. Most of the cases were related to edible marijuana products. Wang championed Colorado legislation signed into law last March to help curtail unintended pediatric exposures to marijuana products. He's hoping Alaska will follow Colorado's lead.
In Colorado, we've passed child-resistant packaging requirements, labeling requirements, rules to not market to teenagers and kids, like not allowed to put cartoon images on marijuana packaging. I think creating educational flyers and resources for both the community and physicians and PCPs and family practice docs to help keep that conversation open to prevent some of these exposures.
And when we come back, many Alaskan inventors got their start through a program that is sponsored by UAF's School of Management. The Arctic Innovation Competition will begin once again. We'll have that story. Also, firefighters were out in big numbers this weekend asking for donations to fill their boots, and residents responded with generous donations. Those stories and more when we return. Stay with us. And welcome back. Firefighters took to the streets across the state over the weekend to fill their boots full of money for the Muscular Dystrophy Association of Alaska. The annual fundraiser is called the Fill the Boot campaign. The Fairbanks Firefighters Association organized the event for the Interior. Fill the Boot began about 60 years ago in Boston, Massachusetts, when a firefighter's child came down with a form of muscular dystrophy disease. Co-workers started the tradition by raising money using firefighting boots as vessels for donations. The annual effort has raised over $500 million nationwide towards a cure for degenerative diseases. In Alaska, the Fill the Boot campaign has raised over $600,000. Interior Fill the Boot organizer Kyle Green says all the money donated over the weekend will go to families right here in Alaska.
ALS is one of those things that you'll wake up the next day and you'll start losing regular functions. You won't be able to button your shirt anymore or eat or feed yourself and things like that. And we're making progress with it. The money that we're raising to find cures, we're finding cures. We're extending the lifespan. We're helping treat these diseases that are just devastating.
We serve 140 families throughout the entire state, and there's possibly more families that we don't know about because Alaska is so large. So yeah, all the money stays right here.
The University of Alaska Fairbanks School of Management is hosting their 7th annual Arctic Innovation Competition, and the deadline to enter is drawing near. The competition invites innovative thinkers to submit concepts that propose new, feasible, and potentially profitable ideas. Submissions are due by 11:59 p.m. on Friday, September 18th. The competition is open to the public, and all ages are welcome to participate as individuals or in teams. Selected finalists will showcase their bright ideas to judges on Saturday, October 17th at the UAF Wood Center. The School of Management will award up to 32 winners with cash prizes ranging from $25,000 to $10,000. Director of Development and Outreach, Tammy Tragus McCook, says every idea is a good one and participants may enter more than one.
And you just need to go online to arcticinno.com and fill out the form. And then new this year as well, we're adding the fan favorite. So if you come to the competition itself, you're gonna be able to vote for your fan favorite and perhaps enter to win for Alaska Airline tickets.
A Nevada couple visiting Fairbanks lost their dog and are determined to try to find it. Monty Bowen has details now in this report.
We don't usually do missing pet reports, but this one is a bit different than most that we hear about. An out-of-state couple has extended their time here because a pet vanished. His name was Shadow, and Patty Carmichael got him from the pound.
Shadow was rescued from Nevada SPCA. I got him when he was only 2 years old, and he was kind of under-socialized then, so the first thing he did was bite me. I tried to pet him, but I just knew that he was a spunky little guy and that he would fit well in our family.
They were in Fairbanks as part of a tour of the state. They arrived August 5th. Shadow got out of the camper and disappeared the next day. They started searching for him and used social media to let people know what was going on.
Back and started Craigslist and, newspapers and things in order to see if somebody picked him up, that they could bring him back.
When people found out what they were doing, they started helping.
That's when we started running into all the generosity that the city has. It was just unbelievable that someone was willing to drive to Delta to meet us and bring her back and help her and loan equipment and set things up and provide transportation and places to stay and just everything. They were just fantastic people.
Shadow disappeared at the River's Edge RV park. They've had several sightings reported, but no luck catching Shadow so far. The couple says they have to return to Las Vegas soon, but will keep searching for as long as possible. If you see Shadow, call 978-6528. You can get more information on Facebook at the Shadow Search Alaska page. This is Monty Bowen reporting.
Well, good luck in finding Shadow. All right, Joe Cook is up next with a weekend recap in local sports. The Ice Dogs had their first scrimmage and the latest high school football polls are out. Those stories and more with Joe after the break.
Welcome back, Interior Alaska. It's time for the weekend recap in local sports. I'm Joe Cook. First impressions from the Ice Dogs opening night of training camp that these guys battled. Sunday night was the first scrimmage of training camp. Fans and coaches got to see how the team looked in game situations. The white team, led by Ryan Kiro, Reiner Gorowski, and Austin Junger, Joseph Ingman, all scored goals, and the white team, they were up 4-1 in the final period. But the maroon team, they wore it back to force overtime with goals from Nikita Dradzdu, Reggie Lutz, Evan Samoza, and Tyler Tomberlin. Maroon team, they won 5-4 after a shootout. New netminders Andrew Lindgren and CJ Booth showed flashes of why they belong despite the score. The returners liked the competitiveness of the first scrimmage.
It's a good team. We have a lot of good Ds out there, and I think the forwards are going to do a great thing out there.
You know, I felt good. It's definitely a faster pace than U18. Last year I played U18 AAA, and but you know, I love it, and I can't wait for the year. You know, it's a good start.
The players were really going at it all night. Their speed was really good. They're making plays, good one-touch passes. You saw some really nice goals tonight. You know, for day one, I thought the guys were on top of their game.
And up on the hill, Nanook fans got their first look at the volleyball team on Saturday night. UAF had their annual Blue Gold game to unofficially start the year. The Gold team won 2-1 and will have bragging rights until the next intra-squad scrimmage. The Blue team won the opening set 19-25, but Gold, they rallied for wins in the last two sets, 25-22, 25-13. Both teams showed UAF could be one of the better defensive teams in the conference, as 3 different players had at least 13 digs, and the blocking has improved. We'll see how they fare this weekend. Alaska hosts Minot State this Friday night in the Flint Hills Resources Nanook Classic opener. Switching to high school sports, we recap the week that was in football. The West Valley Wolfpack got their first win over North Pole since 2011 in Friday night's 27-26 victory in the Hart Bowl. In Eielson, they dismantled Valdez in a 64-0 blowout to improve their winning streak to 12 games. Monroe was idle, but Lathrop was anything but, as they earned their first win of the season and got Rail Belt Conference win #1 as they defeated Wasilla 28-14 on Saturday night. And here are the Week 4 Alaska Sports Broadcasting Network polls and the large schools polls. The trending West Valley Wolfpack make it into the polls for the first time this season at number 5. Diamond is 4th, then Bartlett, Chugiak, and West Anchorage. Number 1 West will play at number 2 Chugiak this week. In the medium and small schools poll, So High stays on top, but Eielson is number 2 this week, and the top small schools team. Nikiski gets their first poll ranking of the year at number 3. North Pole drops to 4th, and Juneau rounds out the top 5. The Wolfpack hosts Juneau this Friday night. Saturday night, fighters from the interior and around the state fought for something more than themselves. The Midnight Sun Mayhem Fight for a Cause Smoker event was at the Borealis Pavilion for a card that featured boxing, Thai boxing, and mixed martial arts. Fighters from Anchorage and Soldotna and more participated in this charity event. All the proceeds went to the Interior AIDS Foundation. The fighters were less than charitable, if you will, in the ring. Local product Vince Frensalone took out Tony Morales in the second fight of the night for a knockout after a series of takedowns and knees to the head. It's Frencelone's 7th career win, and he wanted to finish it quickly.
Just to finish it as fast as I could, and he came out pretty tough guy, so got it on the ground, and we got no 3-point rule, so knees to the head are legal, so started using them.
The fight for a cause continued, and the co-main events went by pretty quick. Andrew Garrett, he defeated Parker Nielsen less than 30 seconds into the first round for a KO victory. And then the main event fan favorite Garrett Butler won by submission in the first round over Arturo Gonzalez for the last victory of the night. But the fight of the night may have been between Joey Niemiec and Josie Wells. Wells grew up in Fairbanks but now lives in Arizona. The MMA fighter made his return to Fairbanks for his first ever boxing match. Wells used his quickness and aggressiveness to get a knockout in the 4th round in front of the home crowd.
And the feeling is unexplainable. I felt a little sloppy in the beginning or whatever, but I just knew that moment was going to come to get that KO, and that's what I really wanted. So it happened, and I'm happy I got to do it in front of my friends and my family. It just feels good to be back home doing this for the community. All the proceeds went back to Fairbanks, and it just feels real good, man, to be a part of something like this. I like boxing. I'm going to get back to the gym and crisp up on some techniques and come back. I like boxing. It's fun.
That's it for sports tonight. Thanks for watching. Mike Schultz is up next with your full weather forecast, and we'll catch you next time.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back into a Monday night edition of the Fbx Evening News. Mike Schultz with you once again talking about the weather. And, man, it was a really bitter weekend. It was really cold, rainy, windy. We had it all. And I know folks are getting a little nervous about the frost advisories that have been out. Well, the good news is we're looking at much warmer temperatures after tomorrow night for the rest of the week, so maybe an Indian summer. How about that? Speaking of summer, look at this beautiful photograph that Susan Parsons sent in. Late summer sunflower. Gorgeous shot there. Nice colors and everything. That's a big flower too. And as always, if you have a photograph to share, well, please send it to photos@ktvf11.com and we'll share it with the rest of the audience. Your numbers, today's high 48. The low last night only 35. The record high was 78 in 1916. Down to 25 degrees in 1922. Your sunrise and sunset about 14 hours and 45 minutes, a loss of 7 minutes from yesterday. On the satellite radar, not a whole lot going on. There's an area of low pressure spinning around over southeast Alaska, bringing them rain. But over the rest of the state, for the most part, you can see just a few mid-level clouds moving across, and those are even moving out of the picture. We're expecting that to continue through the week. Now, as far as what's going on across the rest of the state, well, once again, lots of sunshine and clouds, mix of clouds over southeast Alaska, and only 53 degrees for the high at Ketchikan. Over south central section, 61 degrees at Anchorage, 58 at Kodiak, and Cold Bay, 56, partly cloudy skies. Up and down the west coast, we're looking at temperatures once again right around 48 degrees, partly cloudy skies, and 37 at Barrow, north of the Brooks Range. Fort Yukon at 48 and partly cloudy skies. Lower 48 weather looks like this. Again, we're talking about very warm temperatures still hanging around much of the nation's central portions. 95 degrees at Dallas, Salt Lake City, 87, 88 in Denver. Cooled off in Seattle, rain finally falling there. Maybe it'll help put out those fires. Who knows? Las Vegas and Phoenix, 103 and 106 degrees. Elsewhere over the eastern half of the country, very warm in St. Louis, 91 degrees. Another hot day up and down the eastern seaboard. New York at 92 degrees. Showers and thunderstorms over the south and the southeastern sections. On our satellite and radar, you can see a stream of moisture moving up from the Gulf of Mexico, helping to bring showers and thunderstorms over the Florida Peninsula. That's remnants of what was once Hurricane Erica. And over the Rocky Mountains, some storms are developing there also, and a new system moving across the Pacific Northwest. That's where the rain is coming from. And as far as tomorrow's forecast for the central and southern sections of the country, hot temperatures, 95 to 100 degrees over a large area of the country, all the way from Texas into the Midwest. And the overall jet stream, once again, way up to the north. And when that happens, it means lots of humid and hot conditions moving up from the south. And once again, over the west coast, we're looking at temperatures very nice over the western half of the country. Well, back to Alaska for tomorrow. For the northern sections, looks this way. Partly cloudy skies for Barrow, and at Fort Yukon, mostly sunny skies in Nome. Here in the interior, looking pretty good. In fact, mostly sunny skies in Fairbanks, partly cloudy skies for Delta and Healy, and temperatures warming up more than they were today. Over southeast Alaska, mostly cloudy skies at Juneau, a few rain showers for Ketchikan, and over the southwest part of the state, looking at a little rain likely in Cold Bay, partly cloudy skies at Bethel, and sunny skies for Kodiak Island. And down around the south central sections, sunny skies expected across the entire region with temperatures close to 60 degrees all three areas. All right, time once again for our kids' weather, and we are starting with the kids' weather tonight. These are the kids from Anderson Elementary School. Here's a young lady with a nice story to tell you tonight.
One day it was sunny. A kid wanted to go to his friend's house, but the clouds started to get dark, and it started to sprinkle. And it kept on going, and it started to rain. His friend's mom dropped him off at his house. He was happy to play with his friend. The end.
And tomorrow night, we'll have a young man here sharing a picture that he's drawn. Your forecast for the remainder of the night, one more update to pass along. The Chena River, I know it's high. The high water on the Chena River will be very slowly beginning to lower by Wednesday. Beware of floating debris. Okay, here's your forecast for the night. Decreasing clouds with a possibility of frost, 34 degrees. That's if the clouds clear out. Tomorrow, 49 degrees, mostly sunny and warmer by afternoon. And the extended forecast, lots of sunshine across the board there. No precipitation in the forecast. And temperatures warming up to the low 60s, possibly by the latter part of the week. Also, overnight lows will also be warming up. As you can see, daytime or overnight lows right around the low to mid 40s. All the way across the board there too. All right, that's your forecast for tonight.
Ooh, it's cold overnight. Yeah. Tell you what, it's coming.
Yeah. Pretty soon, snow,
Not even
Joe.
September. We're gonna have some nice mild temperatures the rest of the week, so it'll be okay.
All right, thanks, Mike. That will wrap up this edition of the Fairbanks Evening News. We are glad you could join us.
Well, tonight on NBC Nightly News, mudslides, hurricanes, extreme weather are taking their toll across the United States. All of that up next with Lester Holt.
You can join us here 6 days a week at 6 and 11 or online anytime at whatser11.com.
From all of us here at the News Center, have a great night.
Good night.